Welcome to the shop, a Moto podcast with your host, Jake Lowry and Grayson Crum.
What's up, Grayson?
What's up?
John Moeller Pod back.
Yes, we're back at it.
So, it's going to be a interview episode.
Yeah, excited.
Yep.
We're on a roll here with guests.
Finally, somebody stepped up to the plate and asking people to come on. So, John Moeller's coming on for any of our guests that don't know John. He's a vet guy.
Big vet guy.
I think he's done more as a vet guy than anything. I've known John for a while. We raced amateur stuff together. He's younger than me, but met him amateur racing, local stuff pretty much. Trained with Shannon Nade. And then John really wasn't fast until like big bikes.
Really?
Like way later. Yep. But he's I think he got 5th in plus 25 and 18 at Loretta's. Just really good.
Good, yeah.
And then he raced 30 this year. It didn't probably go like he wanted to. He had 2 top 10 motos, but he had one really bad moto. So, but anyway, just to get somebody different on, different, perspective. It seems like our last, just an interview with a guy gets a lot. It kind of popped off a lot more than just normal stuff. So
yeah, I think people liked it. We heard really good feedback from everybody on our interview with Real Deal Rob.
Yep.
And so we figure we keep going with guests. I feel like people like to hear other people besides me and you talk. So we'll get him on.
All right. Yep. Let's call him up. Hopefully this works.
Hopefully. I have no prior knowledge to know it. First time ever knowing Moeller was just randomly putting him in a group chat.
So I wonder.
Hello?
John, what's up?
What's happening, man?
Can you hear us fine?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good. Do you hear him, Grayson?
Awesome.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Can you hear Grayson?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Let's go.
So welcome, Shot Moto Pod.
Are we rocking and rolling?
Yeah, we're live, dude. You're on.
Awesome. Well, I'm honored. I guess was Coach Rob, am I following Coach Rob up?
Yes, you are. Yeah. So no pressure or anything.
Big shoes.
Yeah, big shoes to fill.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you've been a Shot Moto fan for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm pretty positive I've caught every single episode. I travel for a living, spend a lot of time in airports and in the truck by myself. So I'm a huge podcast connoisseur all the way around, and yeah, always pumped to see whenever a new Shop Moto pod drops.
Yeah, cool. So
Nice.
maybe it doesn't have anything to do with us being friends or anything. Maybe it's just it's good.
That's it. I had no idea who you guys even were.
Yeah, perfect. So Grayson doesn't know a whole lot about you. He just knows like that we're buddies, and I've told him some things. But let's like hop in the time machine and go back to like the beginning. So what? I know your family has a shop, so I'm assuming probably since day one you were going to ride, but like fill in the listeners and Grayson and stuff on like how you started riding.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you mentioned, Jake, my family's actually been in the motorcycle business since the late 60s. So it's, I'm basically a third generation motorcycle rider. It's, what I always remember growing up, going to my grandparents' house, we didn't really play baseball or football or anything. We went to the store and got whatever was available and hit the trails. So, riding and, like I said, evolved into racing is really all I've known. Started off more in the trails and, riding with Garrett and, Shannon Nade actually came in and, he bought I want to say a KX250 from us and let us know that, basically was doing riding school and, kind of
Your phone's...
Did we lose him? Did we lose you? I mean, I have service. It's still going.
Podcast.
It's ticking away.
There it is. Great podcast.
Yep.
It's janky.
Now, you can't blame my phone. You blame Mississippi.
I can blame your phone all I want. Is he from Mississippi?
Louisiana.
Oh, two shit-ass states.
Hey, you there?
Yeah, we lost you. I don't know what happened. It just totally quit.
Man, the Shop Moto Pod. I don't know if that's you or me.
Yeah, I don't. It was probably us because service in Mississippi, cell phone service wise, especially up here, North Mississippi, it's like the forgotten place of internet and cell phone and stuff like that. It's terrible.
It doesn't help we're in a closet in the back of a Napa.
We're not in a closet. We're in
basically a closet.
It's a room. It's just it is in the back, and it's a bunch of crap in here.
No, hey, I'm not much better here in North Louisiana. So yeah, where did I lose you guys?
It was like you were telling about Shannon coming in. He bought the bike, telling you he was doing schools.
Yeah. So Shannon came in and bought a bike from us. Believe it was a KX 250, and was doing riding schools for, I believe it was Gary Simmons at the time. Is that right, Jay?
Yeah. He was Gary Simmons at first. Yep.
So didn't really know anybody. Like I said, it was really just Garrett and I, and going and riding with our cousins and friends there in Bastrop. But it ended up being at Nicholas Fisher's private track at the time, which turned into Bad to the Bone. So this was early 2000s, I believe. And
yeah, for sure. Yep.
So I was about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, and so got a KX60 to start with. It was actually, I'm pretty positive it was Ozzie Barbary's bike.
Oh, and Ozzie.
So it's funny how all of these names are still relevant, to this day.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was 8 years old. From the time we went to that first Shannon Night School, really it was hooked. We were hooked. Fortunately, I had Garrett, who was a few years older than me. I was just a nerdy kid with glasses who liked dirt bikes. But Garrett kind of started meeting Jake and Johnny and all these guys. I want to say at the very first school we went to. So really, I just tagged along with him for a couple of years. But it was every weekend going to, everywhere from our local track, which was Menden, to Swan, Fernwood. Jake went to your track a couple of times before you guys shut it down. And
so that was
like I said, that was
in the late 90s then. That would have been in the late 90s or either in 2000 because my dad let it go in 2000. But I don't know.
So I want to say it was 2000 whenever we came out.
Did you do the Shannon school at my dad's place? I know.
No, really the only schools we ever did were out there at Bad to the Bone, in the early days.
Yeah, I remember you being at all of the schools at Nick's place.
Yeah.
Well, we had a school. The first time I worked with Shannon, I was on a 60, and Nick was still on a 50. So he came. They came over to my dad's place. Shannon came, had a class, and I think that was like kind of the first time that I really hung out with Nick and his parents and stuff. So it rained.
Mm-hmm.
It rained the first day, and Shannon was out on the track on his KX 250 just doing motos, dude. Pouring down rain, doing motos, hitting every jump, and we're like blown away by this guy, because he wasn't like a top, he wasn't like a top pro or anything like that, but he was, he was fast in his day, and he's out there just like it's dry, but it was pouring down rain, and I remember that, that was like the first time I worked with him. And then after that, it was, several times a year, either going to his place or going to Nick's or, trying to set up something closer to home to go. But we did a bunch of like the camps during the summer at Bad to the Bone. And I thought you and Garrett were at most all of that.
Yeah, we were. And, looking back, those were I guess, such monumental moments in my childhood. It was probably only a few weeks that we spent together, but man, those are the memories that I look back on. So it's hard for it. It feels like it was all summer long, but yeah, that was that was huge for us. That was actually the first time I had ever gotten to ride a dirt bike during the week. Was whenever that first summer was that we were all staying at the Fishers, and I think you were with us when we went and did Camp Booger there at Booger's house.
Yeah. Yeah, and Josh Urie would have been there at that stuff. And
yep, and Johnny.
Yep, and I remember, like, at first, we all thought Garrett was like your brother and stuff. We didn't know that he was your uncle and all, and then that's where the Uncle Squirrel name came in, and that stuck for dude. Uncle Squirrel stuck forever.
No, and it was fitting.
Yeah. So,
but still to this day, everybody. That's something that Garrett and I have always just kind of gone along with. His parents are obviously my grandparents, and so it was really my dad who was always taking us around, and yeah, it kind of got to the point where it was just easier to just go along with. He's my brother than anything. So, yeah, still to this day, I think even Shannon thinks we're brothers.
That's funny. Yeah. So, on the Garrett, how's his recovery going? I follow, I see, on Facebook, like, what his wife posts and stuff like that. But, like, from your perspective, how far has he come?
So it's a tough question to answer. I mean, the ugly truth to it is that it was just about as bad as it could possibly be there at the get-go. And going back to, motorcycles have been our whole lives, but you really getting to see it, the bad side of it up close and personal was tough. But, he's fought hard. He'll always have some struggles, but he's still making progress, I would say, weekly. And actually now we're, I went and saw him last week, and I mean, he's like putting spreadsheets together, putting a plan together to go back to work. And, he's steadily progressing, but, the reality is that, always will have some struggles that he's working through, but it's really just a miracle that he's still here with us.
Yeah, for sure. I know that the TBI thing is like way more serious for adults than it is kids. Kids get them, and it's like, within a year or two, they can be back to 100%. But it seems like adults, it takes forever. I've got a couple guys that I know that were older. They were older than Garrett at the time when they had one, and it took, some of these guys still aren't like 100% back to how they were, and they may never be back to like they were. But I'm glad that it's going positive, because, dude, we were there, and I didn't even know.
Yep.
I didn't know until we left, and it might be good that I didn't know till we left, but I saw his bike, and it was all mangled up, and I'm like, the Moellers aren't here. I'm like, I wonder if somebody bought Garrett's bike and just didn't take the numbers and stuff off, because that happens all the time, and had no idea. And then you told us, like, later on when we were, like, on the way home, or we had just left, and yeah, kind of glad I didn't know. So it wasn't a good. That was not a good deal at all.
No, it was definitely a bad deal, and man, it's one of those things. Like, I remember where I was. Actually, Bryce Reed, who's a pretty fast rider from Texas that we've all raced with a bunch. He had called me like twice in a row, and my dad and I were laying floors, and it's the first time in like 20 years that I haven't gone to the Loretta qualifier. So I so vividly remember, my phone lighting up, and I was like, I'm not really in the mood to joke around with Bryce. He's at the track and giving me a hard time. And it was, obviously because Garrett had crashed, and him and his dad were basically the first responders there.
Yeah.
But it's, no other, really any other year, I would have 100% been there. And, kind of knowing how the first few hours were, I think it was for the best that none of us were around. But by the time we got over to Tyler, which was probably 4 hours from the crash, he was at least stabilized. And, a lot of the initial scares were, it starting to subside. And from then, we've, like I said, been fortunate that I would say every day, he's taking a step in the right direction, and you nailed it, Jake. It just in your mid 30s, they told us from the get go that this is years down the road and not a 3 to 6 month recovery, and that's definitely been the case.
Yeah. So did it like spook you on riding and stuff? Were you kind of like thinking about it, or is it just like that risk is always there, so it really didn't change anything?
I would say that I've always been the one that really not understood the risk, but acknowledged it as a real factor. Where Garrett he was Uncle Squirrel for a reason, right? he was never scared to send it, and so we were both always polar opposites there. But yet, definitely, I would say seeing the backside of the injury is worse than the crash. His wife was never really a fan of it, and obviously still isn't. So kind of seeing some of that stuff come to a head makes you think twice about it, because it's not necessarily the injury that you're personally having. It's what it does to everybody around you and how tough it is. So there was a long time there where honestly I thought I was just going to be like an off-road rider. There was never really a day where I considered not riding, but yeah, motocross and fast tracks and all of that. There was definitely a period of time where I was nervous, and actually the first time I went back on a motocross track, I went over to the Soto, and they had this stupid jump that is only stupid if you try to jump it, and I misjudged it bad and actually dislocated my shoulder. So
yeah, not good.
At that time, my wife was she was like, this may not be the smartest thing for you. So I took some more time off, and yeah, obviously, I raced all year and hope to do it next year as well. But yeah, there was definitely a time where I didn't think I was a motocross racer anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah. So let's see. I got some notes. We got where you started and all. Kind of went through. So kind of like talk us a little bit through, like your amateur career racing. Because I remember you on. I maybe remember you on a 60, like to the Shannon School stuff, but I really remember you more. 80.
If you remember me, it's because I was parked next to you, not because of anything I did on the track.
I just sure. I remember you like hanging out with the crew with Nick Fisher, Tyler Stewart, that Louisiana crew, yep. North Louisiana crew, and then remembered seeing you guys at the races and just hanging out. I don't remember you necessarily on the track that I like racing wise until like on an 80. I just kind of remember you on a YZ85. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
there would have been like Swan days and stuff, but I'm older than you, so I wasn't ever really in your class, but just, remember seeing you race kind of around like then. So yeah, kind of like walk us through like, how amateur racing was for you and when you thought like, you could actually, get some finishes at Loretta's and places like that and, Loretta's finishes and all.
Yeah. So first off, in 2001, or maybe it was 2000, it was early 2000s, my grandpa took us to Loretta's because my aunt just happened to live an hour down the road. So early on, that Loretta's was the goal. But Jake, you could vouch for this. I was the slowest kid at the track for probably 6 months or a year whenever we first started.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, I remember like the Shannon, like me, around the times of Bad to the Bone and like Shannon schools. I was making Loretta's almost every year and stuff at that level. And
yeah, you were kind of like you and Josh, and I don't remember if Johnny had, but I remember both of y'all had made it to Loretta's, and that was like, y'all may as well have been celebrities in Garrett.
So, but yeah, like at that time, like 2000, I'd been to Loretta's 3 times, so twice on 50s and once on a 60, and then when we got on 80s, we were going more. Josh was going,
yeah.
So I remembered, like it was hard to know like speed wise where some kids were. But it was sometimes it didn't take but a couple or 3 years, and a kid that was not fast, next thing you know, he's like right there with you. So, I mean, I remember when Teddy Parks was like 65 beginner, and within like 3 or 4 years, he's battling with me at Swan, and I'm like, wait, hold on, like how did this happen? And it's just kind of the evolution of it, and so yeah, I do. I mean, I vaguely remember that. I kind of knew where Nick Fisher's speed was at, and I know you weren't anywhere that. I think Tyler Stewart was probably beating y'all, and he was on a 50. So.
Yeah. So it's funny because, and he actually, we still talk every single day. He lives like a mile from me, but him and I he was a couple years younger than I was, but we were always very alike speed-wise, which actually ended up working out well for me because Tyler just happened to be like at the head of his class. But so it was probably 05 before I was pretty decent on an 80, and actually that same year I was 13 and hit a growth spurt up to like 160 pounds. So I got on a 125 at the end of 05, and that was really like when my dad and I talk about racing and where I kind of turned the corner. That was really it. It was like 2006 racing the schoolboy class and the B class against, guys like Jake. I remember you were kind of at the, especially locally, one of the faster guys, and you would run up front at Loretta's. And, I think towards the end of 06 and 07, some of you guys were like, oh, wow, this chubby kid's starting to hang with us a little bit. And, but it was a slow process for sure. And 08 was actually the first year I ever made it to Loretta's. And I did, I think that was the first year they did Schoolboy 1 and Schoolboy 2. So that would have been like with Barsha and Anderson. Kyle Engel was really fast. Baggett was good back then. The Hortons were always there. And so I never was really able to compete with those guys. I could, on my really good days, I could hang with Zeb Smith whenever he would, maybe be having an off day.
Yeah, Zeb was fast back then too.
And on any given day, Zeb could show up and win. And I definitely never had that top ceiling, but he was kind of always somebody I was shooting. Like I said, if I had a really good day, I could duke it out with Zeb a little bit. But I was never really the one that would hang it out quite like that. And, as you get older, you see that's a big part of it at a young age is really knowing how to hang it out and ride that edge, but without taking it too far. And yeah, so that was never really my specialty, but it's helped me out and helped me become a pretty competitive vet rider.
Yeah. So like when you said that, at a young age, it's the hanging it out part. And I try to, like, when I'm doing schools or just giving my advice to parents and different people, I try to tell them that, like, as a kid, the most important thing is techniques, because you can't make the kid twist the throttle. You can't make the kid have the mentality to try to go fast. Like, they have to learn that on their own and gain that on their own. Some kids may not ever get it either, but, a lot do. But if you put them in the right situation and give them the right foundation, that it doesn't, once that does click in their mind, it's pretty quick, the gap that they close on the kids that were always faster than them, because they have the skills and the technique there to handle the speed. Now they've got the willingness, and the mental side of it to actually go with it. So it's like it happens pretty quick. So, like, I feel like your dad did good with that, because he kept you going to schools, kept you, racing and riding, doing the right stuff. So when it finally clicked for you, it's like, hey, I can go this fast. And it didn't take, within a couple years, bam, you're there. You're actually making Loretta's, making your goals, doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. You've got to have that foundation, and that was something, luckily, that, I guess my dad didn't really have any motocross experience, but had seen a ton of people come through the shop, and that was something that he was big on. The first time I actually ever rode on a motocross track was at a Shannon school. So luckily we didn't know much, but we did, always kind of seemed to go that route. We bought those videos, and Garrett and I obsessed over the Gary Simmons videos and the backyard instruction drills, essentially. But and that's one thing that you see with a lot of trainers these days is there's really only a handful of trainers out there that I really believe are focusing on the fundamentals and building a solid foundation. And from that point, you can really start to generate the speed. But otherwise, you're just going to be injured all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's a bunch of dudes out there that, they're training kids, whatever, and it's more of like they're just kind of putting them a program together and making them stick to the program, but it's not fundamental. But I think that's why you see a bunch of these kids that they're really fast at a young age, and as they get older, as they move up different size bikes, you kind of lose them, and that's just that they don't have that foundation yet, and it's really hard to get that foundation later on in life. Like it's because you've made so many habits, and it's hard to break those bad habits. So
exactly,
I agree on that.
It's much harder to break a bad habit than it is to just form a good habit from the get-go.
Yeah, so like my kids are slow, and I'm not like super worried about it because they do all my classes when I have them. They if you look at them sometimes you're like, man, they look good, but they're just not going very fast. So I'm just like, one day it'll click where they want to go fast and they want to jump, and the fear's kind of not there as much anymore. And if it's when they're 15, 16, 17, that'll be, to me, a better time for them to, want to go fast and have that drive than if they had that drive at 8 years old, because they might get burnt out by the time, and they could get burnt out and then get the fire again. So, like, that's one question I got for you, because that happened to me. Did that ever happen to you, whereas, like, the fire kind of went away, and you kind of felt burnt out? You loved riding and wanted to ride, but it just wasn't. You were kind of over it a little bit, and then maybe later on found it again?
Absolutely. As a kid, there would be times, just where, looking back, my dad was spending a ton of money and only wanted my best effort as any, working parent would. So there were those times, but actually a couple of years ago, after doing pretty well at Loretta's and feeling like I was just a tick off of running with those top guys in the 25 plus class, I've spent a ton of money in the next couple of years really chasing that, only to be going the wrong direction. And in 2020, I herniated a couple of discs in my back and ended up tearing my meniscus in my knee. And at that point, I really didn't know. When I vividly remember pulling out of Loretta's, and both my wife and I didn't think we would ever go back. So that so I was kind of doing it for the wrong reasons, I guess. Like what glory are you really getting out of beating Mike Brown, who's twice as old as I am and 10 times more talented than I'll ever be? But yeah, definitely have taken a lot of the fun out of it. And that was really the beauty of this year. Was it's the first time I've gone and felt like I had the speed and the preparation to do well, but just never really put myself in that position. But I was good with it because, we put our best effort in and had a good time. Yeah.
So for me, as a kid, I didn't take it very serious. I mean, you probably remember, how me and Teddy and Josh and everybody was at Swan. I just didn't. I don't know. It was just the thing that me and my dad did together. We rode dirt bikes, we raced. It was fun, But I never thought that I could make it anywhere with it or do anything. So it was just, I wanted to win, but ultimately I was just having fun. So I feel like I didn't take it very serious until it was way later, and it maybe was, not necessarily too late, but late to where it was going to make it where I was going to have to stick it out as a privateer for a long time. And I didn't do that. 2.5 years, and then I was kind of done with that because I was burnt out. People promise you stuff, they don't come through, and I I was just over it, over kind of all the bull crap. I was starting real life, and so around the time I should have been like really putting in the effort, it was like, I'm kind of over it a little bit, and we went back just local racing, and that's kind of where I've just found the fun again, and back just local racing, regular stuff. Yeah, those would have been.
Would that have been like 09, 10 area?
Yeah. So 09 was really good. 08 was my first year to do any pro races. I did 5 nationals that year, but I didn't make any of them, and did Loretta's that year. And then 09 though, that's when I started actually making some nationals and stuff. Did Supercross that year, and did Loretta's again that year, and it was pretty decent. I couldn't put 3 motos together, but I had could show in one moto or so in Open Pro and stuff that I could run up close to the top 10. But then after 09, we kind of had some help from a guy, and for 2010, and it was just lies and having friends not take your side, want to take the guy that's helping side because they think they're losing money, and it just wasn't fun. And then I got married in 2010. So then that's kind of like, I'm starting real life. Got a kid on the way. So I just, for 2011, we did the ankle savers deal, but that was because my father-in-law had bought into it. And then that went south. And then it's just like, yep. This is just, it was just all a joke pretty much. So, I kind of stepped back a little bit and just did local stuff. I was doing some local stuff that fall of 2010 and making a pretty good amount of money each weekend because they kind of did an open class as the payout classes, 2 of them. So there was, like Josh Cartwright was riding it as a B rider. When Johnny Moore was home, he would come ride them. But there was just like 30, 40 guys on the gate and 200% payback. I could make, $800 to $1,000 bucks.
Was that Golden Pine?
No, Golden Pine was never part of that. This was all like North Mississippi, West Tennessee, King of the Hill series stuff.
Okay.
So I would just do that stuff and make money and work with my dad and, kind of more transition to real life. And, it's kind of, I didn't have that fire as much anymore. I wanted to ride and I wanted to go race every weekend. But it just wasn't like it was at one time. But then, man, like, as I, aged and stuff, like, I didn't get slower or anything. I kind of feel like I got faster at times. So, like, the fires got, hotter and hotter. And I feel like now, like, dude, if I could go back and just be full-time, I would put 120% in. But,
you would appreciate it.
Yeah, but it's a little too late now. So,
No, man, you nailed it. And I guess my story is a little bit different there in that whenever I was a senior in high school, my dad just told me, he was like, I don't have the money and you don't have the talent. So, if you can get your pro license through Loretta's, that's fine. We'll do a couple of them. But I think I've only done 4 nationals total and obviously never made any of them. And at that time just went back to school and rode on the weekends and really didn't take it seriously at all until I got out of college and got into the real world. And I guess had that appreciation of it and started working with Shannon. So I was probably 23 or 24 before I really was around it all the time.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you. If you ever, I thought you had got your pro license, but I didn't 100% remember. So you answered that. You did get it. And
yeah, so I got it from Loretta's in 2010. I think if you got top 20 in 450A or Open Pro or whatever it was at the time, you automatically got your license. And I actually got 21st overall and called and begged for it. not ashamed to say that.
Yeah.
But, so it just, my dad was right. I definitely wasn't good enough. But looking back, I do feel like I was good enough to make a moto. And that's something that still to this day, if there was a close one, there was rumors of Swan getting a pro national. I mean, I would be the first guy to sign up.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So that, the still the want to make it, and I've made some, but in 19, I renewed my license and I did Ironman just to see like where I was at, you know, and
Yep.
I was 50th in times, so I wasn't like way off, and dude, I could put about one, maybe 2 laps in on that rough of a track, and that was all I had. So I went in pretty much straight off the couch, and that hurt for sure. But I want to go.
Are the consolation races still as bad as I remember them?
Yeah, so it was, you know, they take the top 4. It was like 4 laps, and I missed my gate pick, so I was all the way on the outside. And Ironman's not really a start that if you get on the outside, you're kind of screwed. So I got a good jump and just held it wide, and I ended up like 7th coming out of the first turn. But dude, I was after a lap, that was like that one lap was pretty much all I had, and then I was just kind of on cruise control, and I think I got like 12th or 13th in it, and I'm not in shape, so like I can go fast for one lap. I know how fast I can go, but it's for one lap, and then that's kind of it, and then I got to just back it down to just a cruising pace pretty much, and hope I finish. So.
Absolutely.
I did go.
That's my game plan too.
Yeah. Then I guess it was 2020. Yeah, 2020 was COVID year, and we did the Loretta's amateur day deal, but I had my license and I signed up for Loretta's 1, and because of COVID, they declined it because they cut it to like 75 entries or something like that. So I didn't get in. I guess that. You know, they said it was full before me or whatever, but I feel like I would have had a really good chance to make that one because the next day I won 30A pretty easy and just kind of comparing lap. Track was a tad different, but
you didn't go by the billboard.
Yeah, but I was like 7 seconds faster than the guy that got in, so I don't know that the billboard section would have added 7 seconds.
Get the hell out of there.
Grayson doesn't have any confidence in me. If you
you go in. You said you went into the Loretta's, you know, or Ironman like off the couch. Have you ever even gotten into any race like with training?
Yeah, because in 09 I did.
Yeah, okay, that was
08, 09.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was asking me or you, Jay.
Yeah, no. So you know how you said out of high school, your dad was like, you know, or senior in high school, your dad's like, you know, you're not talented enough, and I don't have the money. So my dad never like told me that, you know, I couldn't do it or that we didn't have that. You know, he had told me actually way before that about the money deal, because I don't know if you remember my couple years on Hondas, but you know, I was a Cowie guy forever, and my dad's a diehard Cowie guy. I think if you cut him, green blood would come out. But
yep.
So that before I got Hondas, he's like, I can't buy, you know, a bunch of these 4-strokes for you to race and all. He's like, we need to, you need to like figure out somebody to help or do something, or you're just going to have to ride the old ones or something. So I went to the local Honda shop and talked to the owner, and that's how I got the Honda deal. But he told me back then which that would have been the end of 06. So yeah, I was just out of high school. I had just graduated, and kind of the thing was he wanted me to go to college, and I didn't I didn't apply for any colleges or send anything in. I just kind of took it upon myself of I'm going to chase the racing thing, and you know, I'll just own his shop if racing doesn't work, then I'll just own his motorcycle shop. And he kind of wasn't the happiest, you know, and you know, I didn't pursue any college stuff or anything, but he really didn't like hound me about it. He was, you know, and he paid for a lot to go to a lot of Supercrosses and Nationals and, you know, things like that. So he supported it, but I think he probably had the realization more than I did of like, you know, there's only, you know, a small amount of guys who make money at this, and we're not at that level, and we don't have the bikes, or, you know, it's just we're not at that level.
And
so.
That's exactly how my dad was. I mean, still to this day, he's as supportive as anybody of my racing. And I mean, without even asking, he's always signing me up for Loretta's, or, you know, it's still very supportive. But yeah, it was like, okay, there's Eli Tomac who's going to make it, and then there's you. And, you know, it was more just being very, you know, realistic about where you slot into this. And that was definitely it. Was, you know, could you go make some motos, maybe get a point if you got lucky? Yeah. But that's not going to make you a living, and I can't support you forever.
Yeah, you would be hating that point right now. So, that's why.
Yeah, I would be working at the back plant.
Yeah,
so,
dude.
I'm glad I didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm like, I always wanted a point, because I traveled with Kyle and Dustin a lot, and Kyle was always top 20 stuff. Kyle was so underrated, I feel like, for a guy coming out of our area with no money and just like, lots of Supercross mains, some top 15s, lots of points outdoors, and never really got a lot of help. And but traveling with him, and then even with Dustin, I feel like was kind of like the same as me, but like he put in some motos. He got a 17th one moto at Unadilla and got some points. So like, I'm kind of like, I'll take my 26th at Millville as my best finish and not take the point.
And ride 30 plus.
And ride 30, because it pays off now. I can ride plus 30. And, there's guys that like Kyle will be turning, I think Kyle is 30 now. And he can't ride it. Johnny Moore can't ride it, and it's like, a bunch of our friends that, I would say were faster when it mattered. They keep them out of our class.
No, you nailed it. That's our class.
Yeah. Do you get?
Whenever the rules were changed, that was my dad and I actually were able to talk to Tim Cotter, and that was kind of our hill we were willing to die on. And I know people like you and everybody else felt the same way, but it was like, hey, we've always played by the rules, and we weren't as good as the best guys, but we always lined up and raced them, including, the Mike Browns of the world in 25 plus. But there's a market of riders out here that have done this their whole lives that are local pros, not the Eli Tomacs of the world, but, there should be a spot for us. And, at least for this year, that, like I said, I think enough people were crying about it that they listened. But yeah, I mean, all year long, I've definitely been thankful that I didn't get a point, and I was willing to go back and try to become an AMAB rider if I needed.
Yeah. Have you ever had like guys complain about you and be like, oh, this guy, he should just be riding A and not the vet class? You ever had anybody that maybe not say something to you, but that like they're mad about it?
A little bit, yeah. More kind of like in staging. People, you notice some people will just have the snarky comments or whatever, and it's like, man, look at me. I'm no athlete. And number two, I'm working 50, 60 hours a week just like everybody else. So,
yeah,
I'm a vet rider.
Yeah, I have guys that, like on Facebook and stuff, when that whole deal was going, they're just like, all you guys that, have a pro license or can get a pro license, and like, you shouldn't be able to ride that. And I'm like, dude, I have 5 kids. Well, at that time I had 4, but the 5th one wasn't born yet. But I'm like, you're not looking at the guy that really is your competition or that's really putting you out. Because the guy like me or you who like, you have pretty much real life, you're not the guy that they should be worried about. The guy they should be worried about is the guy like that rides. His job is something to do with riding, so he gets to ride every day. He doesn't.
Yep.
Maybe he's still single, doesn't have anything, no responsibilities. His job includes riding every day. I'm like, that's the guy that's probably going to win because he gets to put more time in on his motorcycle now. He's not. The talent part kind of is such a small gap. When you get to the vet stuff, it's more of the guy that's in shape and gets to actually put time in on his bike.
100%. I mean, I think all of us, and Jake, I know, and we've kind of, we're very, very equal playing fields. I feel like as far as like when you and I line up against each other, it's probably whoever's ridden the most in the last 2 months. And there's so many of us that are racing, at 80 to 85%. You may try to, my game plan's always rip a good start and sprint for the first lap, and then, kind of see where we are at that point. But at Loretta's, it's always in the back of your mind. This year I think we did 11 laps in every moto. So you come around the first time and you're like, okay, I've got to do that 10 more times. And so you're, and that's what my dad's always telling me. He was like, you got to go out there and race. Race for 5 laps and then survive, but don't go out there and just survive the whole time. And
Yeah.
I think that's a mindset that a lot of vet riders struggle with.
Yeah, I'm pretty good about going out and like sprinting. I'll try to get the whole shot and go as fast as I can those first 2 or 3 laps, and then I know, like, when I start getting tired, I'm like, okay, I can ride, at 80% tired. But if I'm, out front and I've gapped these guys enough, I know that, a couple of the guys are going to get me. But, I should finish where I think I should finish if I'm at 80%, if I've started out front. And that's what I did at the area this year. Grayson will tell you.
Yeah, you out of shape.
Yeah, and this is, and that's the game plan. If you're racing the Open Pro, even at a local level, that intensity is, it's tough to match, but the adrenaline will definitely carry you for a few laps there.
Yeah. So I guess the last time I raced you was at Pine Bluff at that pro race now. I think that's the last time I saw you.
And that was actually,
I remember
that was a bad day, actually.
Yeah, I beat you. But
yeah, no, I remember that, and I freaking chased you down for like 18 of 20 minutes. Do you remember that? Like we were going back and forth. I would reel you in a second, and then you'd pull me back out a second. And finally, I was like, I think I've got him. And I think it was Oldenburg. Somebody came around and they were lapping us, which I was like, man, I can't believe that. But you took advantage of the lappers, and you pulled me like 5 seconds, and that was it.
yeah, I remember you hounding me the whole first 450 moto, and which you only rode the 450 class, if I'm correct. And I borrowed a 250 from the shop and rode both. So, I kind of.
And neither one of us made any money on that moto.
No, I did. I got 10th. So, because I passed.
So I did.
I passed Cheyenne Harmon on the last lap. He was like putting around. He had got tired or something. Was like just putting around, and I passed him on the last lap. Yeah, and that put me 10th. And then, but the 250 class didn't have as many people, so I went like 6'8" or something in it, and I actually made a little bit of money from that one. It just wasn't.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, wasn't as many guys in that. So, luckily, I borrowed a 250 and could do a little something. So,
but yeah, that Pine Bluff race was tough, but I'm glad they're back up and running. And
yeah,
y'all went for the open practice, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. It wasn't bad. The track's the same pretty much. They changed one little section, but I don't know if they've changed anything since then. They've had a couple more practices. They just got to kind of learn the dirt, learn how much water to put down, learn how to work it. I think once they do that, it'll get good. I don't know if you know the Shaws that own it, but we know them pretty well. They're good guys. They want to do some cool stuff. Did you see the race they're having in October? It's like it's going to be kind of like a GP.
I did.
Yeah. So they built a
that's cool.
Yeah, they built a sand track by the river, so where all that river sand's at. They're somehow going to connect the main track, the sand track, a little corner track, and then like some trails, and connect it all together and make like long laps and do 30-minute motos. So
that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so they're just trying to do something a little different, just, kind of, change it up, mix it up, and I'm sure they'll have, some regular races and things like that, and they're gonna try to have schools and, let different guys come there and do some schools and stuff, and just kind of, I think, help the Arkansas community a little bit. They've got a little guy that races, so they need him somewhere to race and ride.
Yeah, and they need it in that area. There's actually another pretty good new track up in that area, so that, I think that'll be good. I lived in El Dorado for a couple of years, and we had one private track there, but other than that, I mean, there was no other tracks in Arkansas that we were aware of anyways.
Yeah. So I pulled up, or Grayson pulled it up. Well, we pulled up the vault. So 23-26 in '08 in Schoolboy 1 and 2. That's not bad. That's, a kid that's in, mid-pack, at the biggest race of the year in 2 pretty hard classes. 2010, 450A, 450A Pro Sport. 21st in Pro Sport's not bad at the, this is the top, pretty much the top of amateur racing. And then you didn't go back for 4 years. What kind of changed like your mind on like, hey, I'm going to go back to Loretta's and ride 450A again?
Yeah, it was actually my senior year of college, and I was super out of shape, but was starting to look the real world in the eyes, and was like, man, it really didn't get much better than just going racing with my dad, on the weekends. And so that year, I guess that was 14, we kind of started doing that again. And I didn't even qualify for Loretta straight up. I think I got I don't remember if it was 9th or 10th at the regional, and ended up getting in as an alternate. But it was really, like I said, just that perspective shift. And in 2010, I was still, I went there on a hope and a dream, and obviously leaving with a best of 21st overall wasn't going to do much for me. So, yeah, so 14, and I think I went just about every year after that, starting in 2014.
Yeah, I've got it. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yep. So you went and did 2-stroke in 15. I'm guessing that's because it was just that new class, and you're like, hey, I want to go. I'm going to go do the 2-stroke class.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there was a bunch of us. I know Forrest Smith from Louisiana. He did it that year too, and there was a ton of us that were licking our chops, and I think we all thought we were going to go dominate. But
yeah,
there was this guy nobody had heard of named Justin Cooper that turned out to be a lot better than all of us.
Yeah, so I went to a regional in 15 for plus 25. I went to Freestone, and it didn't go that good. I went like 14.93 for 14.73 for 9th overall. I crashed the first moto, and so I didn't even send my money. I probably would have made it, but I didn't even send my money in. I'm like, I'm not even whatever.
Was that the year that Tortelli and Raynard were?
Yeah. So the first moto, I was like mid-pack on the start. It was kind of muddy. They didn't even have, it
rained like 4 inches.
Yeah, it was, and so
I remember that.
First moto, I was like mid-pack or so, and I look up after I've passed a few guys on the first lap, and I see Tortelli 103, and I was like a bull seeing red, because I'm like, that was my goal, was, to run with Tortelli and Raynard. And, dude, I hit a hole and endoed so hard, and I get up, and I'm hurting, and I'm like, I'm in last now, and at a 4 or 5 lap regional, and because that was before they made it to where these regionals had to be longer. That was when they would just do 4 or 5 laps. And I get up in last, and I charge as hard as I can, and all I could pass up through was to 14th. And second moto with Freestone's kind of weird on the start with gate pick and all, and I was like a mid-pack start. And I remember like battling with Taylor Painter, some guys like that for like 7th. And I'm like, dude, like I should be better than that. And then the third moto, I get a good start, and I tried to chase Tortelli and Raynard the whole time. I got third, chased them the whole time, but they had me beat. They were a lot faster.
You probably got tired, didn't you?
I'm sure I got tired. I mean, I had a couple kids at that point, so
yeah, but
I had 3 at that point, so
I'm sure you're tired.
the kids will wear you out, So
that's what I hear. We have our first one on the way. So
yeah,
I'll find out here shortly.
Is it boy or girl?
A boy.
Okay. Well, get ready.
Yes.
Handful. So, dude, it's like when
it was a sigh of relief when I found out it was a boy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, look. So, coming from somebody that has 3 boys and had them first, and then now have 2 girls after that, the girls are way easier as like in toddler age. So, the boys, like I feel like all like babies up to 1 years old, like 1 or 1.5. It's kind of all the same thing, But man, once you get to like the toddler age, so like once they start talking and walking and all, dude, little boys are into everything, make messes, don't care to help with anything.
Are we sure that's like all you're putting like boys into like one kind?
No, I have 3 of them.
Yeah, but like they're yours.
Yeah.
So like that could be the issue.
That could just be me.
Yeah,
Well,
like
well, my little girl, my 3-year-old, dude, she's like the sweetest thing, helps with just about everything, like just like the best personality. And which my next one is not old enough for me to know that yet, but
we'll get there when it's time.
yeah, we'll get there when it's time. But man, boys, like my oldest he'll be 12 in December, and he's just now getting to where like he's starting to mature a little bit, and like he will help some if we ask him. He's getting a little bit better with not being quite as messy, but you know, he's got his brothers there to kind of push him right back into acting like he's still 3.
That's for sure.
So it's fun though. It's an adventure. You'll have fun. Like it's I wouldn't tell anybody not to experience being a dad in their life. Like it's definitely something that I feel sorry for people that can't have kids. Like, 'cause it's something cool. It's definitely cool. So let's get back.
Absolutely, and yeah, let's get back to the moto.
Yeah. So you went in 16. You did College Boy and 250 All Star. So I didn't know this, but 250 I went in 15 for like a day or so, but I went for several days in 16 because a kid that I helped for a while, Ryan Hall, he raced 250 All Star that year, and I didn't even know you were in that class. I might have knew then, but I just didn't remember it because he got 23rd overall. So you let my guy beat you.
And I had a terrible week. I don't even remember what I got.
It says you got 35th in that, but you went 29 DNF 34, so maybe a crash or something.
That's about how I remember it.
Yeah. So Ryan, he rode C the year before and went, in C the year before, and I told him, I'm like, dude, it's like, CBA, we're not wasting time, we're just, we're moving on through, and he did that, but then because he was still in B when he made that 250 All-Star, he was a B rider. And he rode 250B Limited and All-Star. And then that he went pro or went A, whatever, right after that. And they went to the Pro Challenge, and he crashed. This was the year that Trey built that big triple thing in the middle. And yeah, he crashed on that and broke his back, and then that was it. He quit. And it's kind of one of those things where like I had this kid that I'd been working with for, a few years that, he actually he showed something, and I can't blame him for being done after that, because that's kind of a big injury when you've got to have surgery and things like that. And he was at the age of, being done with high school, trying to start real life. So I don't really blame him for that. But I never knew that you were in that class too. It's kind of cool to go back and look.
Yeah, I was very much a gate filler. As always, that wasn't the plan, but that actually was not, we thought 250 All-Star was going to be super stacked, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, it was weird.
There was a ton of alternates in it. I mean, honestly, yeah, it's pretty embarrassing how bad I did in that class, because looking back, that was really a year where there was some top 10 spots that were definitely available in that class.
So what years were you doing some training stuff, you and Glenn Hebert?
So that was probably 14, 15, 16. I had moved out to Texas and was actually working with Shannon.
Okay.
But
okay.
all during those years, I mean, honestly, I was riding a ton. I really didn't have the best equipment because I didn't have that much money, and the support, from Moeller's and my dad and all of that was gone. So, I was doing a lot on a YZ252 stroke and had a 450 also. But yeah, like I said, there was, I was doing a ton of riding, and even locally, like in 2016, I was I would did like the whole North Texas Night Series and pretty much would win all of the local pro stuff. So to go to Loretta's and never even get remotely close to the top 10 that year was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. So, did the thing with Glenn, what was that? Next Gen? Is that what it was called?
New Talent Generation.
Oh, New Talent. Yeah. How did, did that thing, was that pretty cool? Did that go good? I kind of remember it vaguely, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, it I would say it kind of ran its course. Naturally, there was no falling out or anything like that. We both just, we were doing similar things. And around the same time, you were doing the schools and everything as well. And I lived right there by MTA. So I had access and obviously had dealer codes and everything. So I could use Moeller's information to get stuff through MTA. So started helping kids out really to, just wanting to push people in the right direction. You see so many people come in that don't know anything about it. And so, yeah, that's kind of how Glenn and I got together. I had more of the product piece and was doing the schools. And, so we did that for a few years, but I think we both realized there really wasn't much of a career there. So it, like I said, really just kind of fizzled out and ran its course. And saw Glenn at John Murray's wedding a few months ago and, talked to him and picked up right where we left off. But, yeah, it was a fun time. But,
So,
I couldn't say that I miss a lot of the many parents can leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Oh, yeah,
I'll leave
yeah.
it at that.
I know. I know.
And most 90% of them are great, but it's the one bad apple here and there.
So, you said you worked with Shannon. I didn't know. I guess maybe I just don't remember. But I didn't know you went and worked and you did some schools with Shannon.
Yeah. So in 2016, Shannon had a deal worked out with Underground, so was taking that over, and I worked with him out there for 4 or 5 months, and then that kind of fizzled out, and that was after Loretta's in 16. He started putting something together to go out to California for, I believe, January and February of 17. So went out and did that with him, and got to ride a ton and meet a lot of cool people, and kind of live the dream a little bit. So really, those were the years where, like I said, I was getting to ride, quite a bit, as much as I could afford to, anyways.
Yeah. So 17 you did Open Pro and plus 25 at Loretta's. So the normal thing, freshly 25, gonna do plus 25 in Open Pro.
Yep.
24 and 25. So and then the next year, what? And I was there because I rode 30 and got 9th and 30, and I remember watching you and dude, I was pumped. I was super pumped to see you. I remember the third moto and kind of keeping track of how you were doing and where you were gonna finish, and I'm like, no way, gonna be 5th overall. That's big, dude. That's really big.
Yeah, no, that year it. Like I said, I look back at all the other years and could make up 1,000 excuses, but for whatever reason, 2018, it all kind of came together, and really all year it was. I really did. The 2 months before Loretta's, I did quit my job and ride a ton, but leading up to the regional, I was maybe riding twice a month, and went to the regional and beat Ryan Grantham and Taylor Painter at 3 Palms. So I was like, man, maybe I could. At that time, I was like, maybe I could go win, because the year before I actually got knocked out and broke a rib 2 weeks before the region, or before Loretta's. So I really shouldn't have even gone, but I had done well at the Spring National and just kind of refused not to go. But fast forward to 2018, it kind of felt like it was all starting to come together. And, I could honestly say that looking back, that's probably, I had a brand new bike, so I was on a good bike. I had ridden a ton, and I kind of feel like I maximized, that was as good as I could do. So I was very happy with that effort.
Yeah, Brad Smith finished right in front of you. I've raced Brad within the last few years. He's unreal fast. James Roberts is fast. Dude, think you beat Ryan Grantham. Do you remember being kids in Texas and Ryan Grantham just cleaned house, and then
Oh yeah.
and then you get him,
That
you
was
get
the
him at the
motivation
ranch.
to quit my job. I was like, I'm the man. I just beat Ryan Grantham at 3 palms.
Yeah. So and then like Taylor was 11th, Darren Downs was 10th, Caleb Bertrand 12th. Like, pretty cool, man. Pretty cool for sure. I've never had a top 5 overall. I've never even had a top 5 in a moto. So, you got me beat for
And
sure.
I think I may have only gotten 1 top 5 in the motos. I was just there. I was right there around that 5th all week long.
Yeah, I think it was like.
Yeah, funny enough, I've never even gotten another top 10 overall. I just got the 1 standalone 5th so far.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's just about putting it together. So and then so
It's tough to do. It's almost like a roulette board whenever you get up there.
yep. And then 19 you got 21st, and then 2020 you got 29th, and then you didn't go in 21. You're just over it.
Yeah, like I said, I ended up getting hurt in 2020. I rode the last moto, but I was terrible. The first moto, I think I was maybe around 15th or so and did okay, but it was pretty over it. Had just got married, and in 19 and 20, I probably spent twice as much as I did in 2018 and was doing way worse. So I was just over it. And then obviously in May of 21, when Garrett got hurt, that kind of solidified not riding much last year. But
yeah. So, is your wife like on board? She's cool with it, or does she give you a hard time for chasing this? You're still chasing that dream.
She keeps me grounded.
Yeah, mine too.
But no, she definitely supports it.
Yeah. All right, Grayson, you got any questions?
No, just learning.
You're just learning?
Yep, listening.
What'd you
We
learn?
put you to sleep. This is probably a terrible podcast, but I've enjoyed going down memory lane.
Yeah, trying to put names together.
Oh yeah, Grayson's probably trying to be like, who's this guy? Like he when we say names that's like weren't born in 2010 or after, then he's just like he has no idea who these guys are.
Yeah, I was kind of lost.
He doesn't remember Uncle Booger, huh?
No, not at all.
Y'all were saying like plus 25 guys named in that moto, and I was like, yeah, I have no idea who any of those people are.
Really?
Yeah.
Taylor Painter?
No.
He won plus 30 in 17. Yeah, because 18 he had number 1. He's a Texas guy.
That's awesome. Like I really don't care about the vet classes.
Oh, you don't care about vet classes?
No.
Isn't College Boy considered a vet class?
That's the only vet class I care about.
And that's your class.
Hey, you just wait, Grayson. I never paid the vet classes any attention at all, and now I'm like, 50 plus is coming up. I gotta go line the fence.
Yeah, dude. Hey, I'm waiting on plus 40. Unless they like somehow decide like
I hope they do.
Unless they decide they really like me and they add a plus 35.
You wouldn't go anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, I would go if they added a plus 35. Be the first year in it. I'd go.
Shut up.
They could even leave it wide
Are you
open.
34?
Yeah, I'll be 35 in January. So.
Yeah. Man, you still got some time left in the plus 30. That was a good change of pace, though. It's crazy how much lower the intensity felt than the 25.
Yeah, 25 is, dude. Honestly, I mean, the guy that won 25 won Open Pro, like, and Heath's in there getting like third or like. Honestly, 25. The first 20 guys in that class are still like at that pro level. Like, they might not do it full time, but they're still at that level. Like, you could give Heath a year and give him a contract to ride Supercross and Nationals, and he'd be, knocking on the door of mains and, knocking on the door of some points and stuff. Like, he would be right there again if you just gave him the right equipment in a year.
He would have been second. He would have been second at Loretta's if he was in a little better shape. I mean, him and Martinez, the first few laps, it was impressive.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know if that's kids just like I don't know. It's hard to look at and be like, why does this like what's going on? Because I don't remember when I was a kid, like I don't remember the vet classes being like as like gnarly as they are now. There would always be one or two guys that came back, but
there was a big change this year. I noticed at every area that I went to, and even at the regional, the fastest guys were in 25 and even 32. And at Oak Hill, Bryce Reed actually, he made it in Open Pro, and I think got 7th in 25 plus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of shows that, and really the depth was there. Maybe like a Chandler Baker won Open Pro, but then, there was a 30-second gap from 4th to 6th.
Yeah.
Whereas 25, there was like 12 just solid guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I only did an area, and it was a pro-am, so there was a bunch of pros there. So it didn't translate the same because Wentland won 25, and he was like probably, 5th maybe in pro?
4th or 5th.
4th or 5th. So there was some faster dudes at this because it was a pro-am, and it paid some money. So there was, almost a full gate of pros. And
Patrick Murphy won.
Yeah, Patrick Murphy won. So it made it. And then what's our guy?
Ricky Mapes.
Ricky Mapes was there. No. What's our guy that quadded into that section?
Oh, Nate Mason.
Nate Mason won.
Yeah, I thought Ricky Mapes on the 2-stroke.
Mapes won on Saturday, but then on 250 Pro Sport. But then Nate Mason won on Sunday, Open Pro Sport, and these kids were fast, and Wentland was fast. I'm surprised Wentland didn't go to Loretta's. He beat me pretty easily in plus 25, and then
he could have had a flat tire and beat you.
Really?
Yeah, super easily.
What about Gaines? I almost beat Nick Gaines, Moeller, and he passed me with about.
That's pretty impressive.
He's a little out of shape, so.
He's like on my program now, is what it was looking like.
Yeah, he's a little out of shape, but second moto, I got the start, and Wentland got around me on the first lap, and then I just tried to pace him, which they cut it to only 3 laps, so that helped me. And but the third lap, I had Gaines beat, and I went 5 seconds slower that lap because I was
tired.
I was tired, and
then you were yelling at me.
Yeah, and there was we literally had probably 3 corners, a few straightaways in between the corners to go, and Nick Gaines comes up. I could have probably shut the door on him and been a jerk, but I didn't. I just kind of let him, come up the inside and take the line. And Grayson was we get back, and he's acting like he's throwing stuff, and he's like, I'm selling everything. We're done. Like he was the dad, all mad.
Because he was yelling at me. I had to do AB All-Star the day before, and it was a full gate. Yeah.
Literally 40
guys. And it
was
a 15 plus 2 or something. And I was tongue in the spokes dying. He had 3 laps and couldn't even put 3 laps together.
Well, I tried. I won plus 30. I won my class.
Good for you. You won. You beat some plumbers.
Yeah.
Good. All right, Kiefer.
They say those who can't teach.
Yeah. The guy that I beat got 9th. He beat Moeller at Loretta's. He got 9th.
That's awesome.
The William Hall guy.
Yeah, but 3 laps is different than 20 minutes.
Oh, is he on a KTM?
Yeah. On a new one.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was kind of weird. I didn't like him.
Yeah, I remember him. He was right there on that bubble.
Yep. So, all right. Well, I guess Grayson doesn't have any questions, so we've had you on for probably long enough. You're probably ready to get off, so.
No, all good. I appreciate you guys reaching out and enjoyed it. Like I said, it may not be a good podcast, but I enjoyed going down memory lane. And Grayson, one day the vet class will be all you care about. Mark my words.
No, people will like it. I feel like all of our ones where we have a guest on get better views. When it's just me and Grayson, I feel like people are like, we've heard these 2 meatheads talk before, so we kind of want to.
Yeah, I think our Louisiana crew down there is a big Louisiana
Yeah,
presence.
I feel like, so we have more probably Louisiana guys that listen than anything. Seems like those guys they're kind of really into it. But I feel like we've got a lot of kids that are from Louisiana that are racing pretty heavy, and we give them some praise, give them some shout outs, and they appreciate it. So.
And there's some fast local up and coming Louisiana kids.
Yeah,
I'm North Louisiana, so really I don't even think any of those guys claim me, but I like to claim them. So
Yeah. So you'll be getting your care package in the mail probably in a day or two or so. I don't know. The local guy here got his today. We shipped it out yesterday. He got it today. So you'll have to let us know what you think about your little care package.
I will. I'll be on the lookout for it, and I will definitely keep you guys in the loop.
All right. Awesome. It's good talking to you, John. And let all of your friends, all those guys in Texas that you know, like maybe Dark Side. I mean, if you want to tell him you did this podcast, let all those Texas guys.
Funny story. In 2018, I lived in the Moto X Pod Show studio.
Really?
That whole summer.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how I got to know Dark Side. So
Wow.
I will definitely.
Vital
he needs to toss the Moto X. I mean, he needs to toss the shop a bone. So
yeah. He helped me out when you gave me his number a while back when we first started. He was a really cool guy, helping me out with what equipment to get and stuff like that. So, but yeah, just
he's a good dude.
Yeah, if you just share it, I'll post it up probably tomorrow and share away so we can get some more views and the sponsored riders will get they might get extra sticker or two if.
Some money.
There we go. I'll help spread the word and then come back for royalties.
All right, cool. That'll work. All right, John, good talking to you. We'll talk soon.
See you, Moeller.
All right.
All right. See you, bud.
Guys. Bye.
All right.
Jonathan.
What'd you think?
It's good.
Yep.
He sounds and looks way older than he is. If I was going to the vet regionals, if I was going to a regional or something, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to have to need a birth certificate.
He's John was probably always a little more mature than his age.
Yeah, I can tell that.
He wasn't a punk kid quite as much as me.
Yeah, you definitely. He makes you still look like a punk kid.
And it is what it is. I can't change that.
Yeah, I was a little lost in the middle. Y'all threw names, places, and I was like,
you can't hop back in the time machine with us because you would have been just not there.
Nah.
2000?
I was 1 year old.
All right. Well, we've been on here for a while, but it's time to go.
Yeah.
It's time to say bye-bye to our fellow
go home
listeners, YouTubers. It's not time to go home yet. You still got an hour of work. You don't get out. You don't get off that easy. You've been
hour of work.
Doing nothing for an hour and a half. So, all right, everybody, like, subscribe, share away, comment, whatever. The more active you are, the more we like you, the more you might get like a sticker deal.
The more active you are,
the more active
we are.
You've seen how active he's been.
Super active.
All right, that'll work. See you, everybody. Hopefully next week.
See ya.